right. So our first speaker, he's really the man of the honor at this event, and a big reason why a lot of us are assembled here today. This man is one of the first people I started watching a couple of years ago because his footage of ancient sites is really second to none. In fact, he kind of pioneered the drone footage in high-quality exploration content. You'll see his work credited all over the place and pirated in even more places. He's a published author now with his first autobiography out, and you can find his amazing exploration content to sacred and ancient sites all over the place. So, ladies and gentlemen, please give a thunderous round of applause to the wandering wolf himself, Mr. Michael Collins.
Check, check. Cody, thank you. Made me sound really official. Not used to that. Thank you guys so much for being here. It is a pleasure to kick off the day with all the incredible things we have in store. I am truly grateful to be here with all of you. I just got back from a tour to Egypt with Gary, the Forbidden Frontier crew, so kind of riding a high on that straight into the conference, which is great. But it pretty much encapsulates what I want to share with you all today. First, I want to take a few minutes just to thank a few people before we get started. It's been a lot of hard work to pull this off in the time that we have, and I couldn't have done it, or we couldn't have done it without a lot of help and involvement from others. Thank you to our speakers who have graciously taken the time to commit and come here to Arizona and prepared huge amounts of insight and data and give this wonderful community their experience, knowledge, and hard work. This won't be the last time we work together, and for that I am truly grateful. To you here and at home who have joined us and continue to support the efforts of those who keep tirelessly creating content and striving to move the dial, thank you so much. None of us would have a job without you, and we owe everything for all you do to support the mission of truly understanding the ancient world through our quest for ancient civilizations. To all the volunteers here today who have contributed their time, energy, and resources to help pull this off, thank you. Myself and everyone else here owes you more than you know. And to Robert, where are you? Robert in here? If you don't know Robert, you need to meet him, shake his hand while you're here. Robert's put so much hard work behind the scenes pursuing this vision of his for creating space for our community to grow and thrive. I've been in some situations in life, but I've never seen someone continue to work through problems the way he does. When Robert's got his sights set on making something happen, it's going to happen. Both Robert and I see this as the kickoff to even bigger things to come, and after what I've seen Robert do to pull this off, I believe we have huge things ahead, so thank you, Robert. So my overall goal today is to hopefully inspire those here and watching at home to take their involvement within this community to the next level. Not just because I've personally found this work fascinating and because it has literally saved my life, but because we need as many eyes, ears, and brilliant minds sharing ideas and discoveries as possible. Whether that's coming to a conference, traveling by yourself, or joining a tour, engaging more online, joining groups, building friendships and relationships within the community, or exploring your own backyard and sharing what you find. Get involved, get your friends involved too, because now is the time to do it. Tides are shifting within society about what people are willing to take at face value anymore from experts. We all have a great opportunity now to contribute to the direction we collectively are heading and concerned to discovering the truths of our ancient past. Everyone here today can help to guide the direction of our collective towards the truths. This should be our goal, together, never separately. Only together can we work to shift the practice, narrative, and knowledge for all those who come after us. And we've already made huge strides. Thanks in large part to the years of hard work put in by many of the people speaking and working here today. Together, we're reshaping the next generation of archaeologists and explorers, but there's still so much work left to do. So I'm also going to be going over some ugly truths about the field of heritage tourism, reconstructing sites, and how that has affected me personally, along with my work, and some things we should know as a community to help preserve our understanding of the past for future generations. I've got some examples up here that I'll be going into a bit further. And one of the biggest things I've navigated in my time traveling the world, filming and creating content, has been keeping my ears open to that sometimes very quiet inner voice that dares to dream big, pushes us to pursue a passionate and fulfilling life. I've been very fortunate enough to have a lot of people at events like this and different places share those things with me. And I think it's really important to encourage that in each and every one of us. And lastly, I hope to highlight the importance of travel, community, the pursuit of truth, and that we can all contribute to growing this push towards a collective revealing of our shared past. There is a unique power in the collective contribution to this field where none of us pretends we're the solo experts or celebrities of ancient history, but realizes that we need to depend on each other, learn from each other, and mostly just be friends and respect each other so no stone goes unturned in our hunt for understanding the mysteries of where we come from. Community, more than anything, is what enables the free sharing and exchange of ideas, discoveries, theories, and pursuits of understanding the various mysteries many of us hope to be revealed in our time. So I want to take a quick second. This is my buddy Jeff. Jeff out here? Where you at, Jeff? There he is. Jeff has a YouTube channel, Jeff Up North. He started his channel after traveling together on a tour to Peru. He even hosted me up in Michigan. We filmed the Keweenaw Wall, which we've named. That's official now, by the way. And we filmed some sites up there, exploring the mysteries of the Michigan copper mines. That's what Jeff has been focusing on. If you're not familiar with any of that, you should check out his work. It's fascinating. And it is a great example of what getting plugged into a community, being a part of events like this, going on tours, connecting with people can do. It gives you friends and a family and people that are going to encourage you and support you along the way. And Jeff's just one example of what can come from being involved in a community. So, who am I if you're not familiar with my work? My journey began, like 8 years ago. It's been quite a winding road. But the short version is, after leaving the Army, I worked in sales in a job that was really unfulfilling. And I had no passion. I was fairly miserable at what I was doing, just working for money, working for a paycheck. Eventually, I decided to quit my job and take a year off travel. And that year turned into 2 years, and I realized that I better figure out something if I wanted to keep doing this. I couldn't keep doing just traveling. That'd be nice, but I couldn't just keep doing that without making some money or doing something. What sparked it all off was a visit to Sacsayhuaman down in Peru. And Sacsayhuaman is the capital of the Inca Empire, just outside of Cusco. So it's a relatively easy place to get to if you want to visit for yourself, and I highly recommend you do, if you can. I remember touching those massive stone blocks and thinking to myself, if these people, who we are told didn't even have the will when they made this, could create something so incredible, might I be able to, do something with my life as well that could be amazing? And I was determined to find out. So I spent years making content for no one. No followers, no engagement, nothing. But I had a clear vision and goal. Wanted to get to sites that had rarely or never been documented and film them in a way that I wanted to see. And for me, that meant utilizing drones. Utilizing the drones has opened up a whole world of opportunity for me. When I started doing that about 8 years, there was a lot of footage of a lot of places in the world that hadn't been filmed with drones. So getting out to these sites and filming them with drones was hugely important for me. And some of what Cody shared was true. A lot of that footage you can find all over the place in different channels and TV shows and different stuff that have utilized all of that. China in particular had two sites that fascinated me, but there was no great footage or content on them at the time. Yangshan Quarry and Long UK's, which is this here. So I went to China and filmed. I didn't have any experience doing any of this. I just bought the plane tickets, got my visa, and went to the sites, pointed the camera, and got the drone shots.
So guys, this is...
So the Longview Caves are roughly 24 enormous man-made sandstone caves discovered in 1992, but thought to be thousands of years old. No one knows who built the Longview Caves. No one knows when exactly they were built, and no one knows how they were built. It's funny how many of these ancient sites, no matter how far back they go, the bigger the questions become. So I'm going to play a quick clip there for the Longview Caves.
So guys, this, as far as I know, this cave was discovered in like 221 BC. There's really no history or records showing anything about this place. As you can see, it's absolutely massive, and it was discovered just by chance. Apparently a fisherman, all these caves were flooded like this, but full of water, and apparently a fisherman discovered a massive fish down here, prompting people to drain the cave to see what was down here. They've never discovered the remains or what's been pulled out of here. Some of the ceilings in here reach up to 100 feet high. You're talking about like 3,000 square feet per cave, which is over 30,000 square feet of cave systems. If you can see the people down here compared to the columns and the walls, you get a sense of scale of just how massive this place is. Wow, I cannot explain to you guys how excited I am to be here. I've been wanting to come to this place for so long now, and it's definitely living up to the expectations. Golly, dude, look at this. Look how perfect, like it was intentionally done this way. So what's really fascinating about this place is that there's no records, no history, no nothing about why this was created, who it was created for, and the level of craftsmanship on display here is absolutely stunning. You can see where they took great care in exactly how they were cutting out the stone. Everything is in parallel bands running across the ceiling, the pillars, the walls, almost as if to give it a very uniform feel. And it does do that. So guys, one of my biggest pleasures in making these videos is showing different places of architectural skill that were made just thousands of years ago. This is one of those places. Places that kind of make you ask, how did they do it? Nobody knows where all the stone went that was excavated from this place, and you're talking about tons and tons and tons of stone that had to be removed from each one of these places. And if you can get a sense of scale here of how big this place is, you're talking about 24 caves in total. This is just one. And I can't even begin to imagine, there's no records on it, I can't even begin to imagine what this might have been used for. Maybe they used it for what some of these are being used for today. They filled it with water and put giant fish in here and used it as breeding areas. Who knows? There are 5...
So you can see I was pretty pumped up back then. That was one of the first trips. And I do want to point out the carvings that you see in that cave, those are all added at a later date. Those were added by the Chinese government who run these sites. So they're carving in and changing the entire feel of the site. It's not just the carvings, but they're putting in ponds inside of there and whole setups. And I'll get into that in a little bit more. But you can see I was pretty jazzed up back then. So this is the Georgia Guidestones. Not an ancient site, but something that I wanted to go and check out. It was in Georgia, just north of Atlanta. I filmed the Georgia Guidestones when I came back from China, edited that video, scheduled it for release before someone bombed that site and blew it up, if you guys remember that being in the news. So once that happened, I immediately released that video and finally saw a surge in activity on my channel. I went from, 1,000 subscribers to 7,000, which back then that was, yay, that was a lot. It was great. So I documented this site in detail, every inch of the stone there, and I'm glad I did. It's all in that video. You can watch it. There's tons of information worth examining about that site. A lot of it seems modeled off some of these ancient sites that I visited around the world. So one of the next big places that I went to was Sage Wall. Sage Wall kind of just fell in my lap. I was planning a trip to Russia to go film Gornaya Shoria, if you're familiar with that site, and a couple other sites over in Russia. Ukraine popped off, and I had to cancel that trip, obviously, right? So I was looking for something else, and saw this and went out there. Going to that site now, I've been going up there every year now for 4 or 5 years, and formed wonderful friendships there with the property owners, Chris and Linda. And the attention the site gained from the video I released increased visitors there to the point of supporting independent research of the site, which has now been released in full to the public. You can go see all this right now on their website. So they've been doing years of research that's been funded by the support people have given to them just by going up there and visiting the site, and donations and things like that. So there's LiDAR, ground penetrating radar. They've done soil analysis. They've done lab reports on the stone, which is highly magnetic. So it's all open source. You can go check all of this out on their website right now. After these 2 videos, people started paying attention to some of the work I was doing, which finally opened up some opportunities, and they started presenting themselves. Let's see here.
All right, guys, we just got to the back of the trail here, and we made it here to the Sage Wall, and I just walked up here. So I've been here less than a minute, like 30 seconds, and I'm staring at this thing, and my initial impression is, I mean, come on. That's not nature. I mean, look, guys. Look at this thing. If you can see the straightness of it, I'm blown away. This is exactly what I was hoping to find when I came out here. It's a massive wall. I mean, I can't. There isn't anything about this that screams out, nature did this to me. If this was man-made, if this wall and the other side over there, perhaps that side used to be stacked up better, and there was some kind of channel here. This is the number one reason why I came out here to Montana. This is the number one reason why I came out to this site. And this is the absolute number one feature that I wanted to come to see while I was out here. And as soon as I walked up on this point, I knew we were looking at something amazing, and we've just been climbing all over this now. It's really hard to look at the surrounding area and see the way the boulders and different stuff are scattered all over the place, and then walk up on this and think that this is not, have some kind of design and planning put into it. This is a straight wall, but I came out here with a very, kind of questioning mind about what I was gonna find. But as soon as I walked up and saw this, and looking at it in person, I'm like, yeah, too similar to so many places that I've seen around the world.
Pretty interesting, right? So there's a lot of other things at that site that are worth mentioning, cup holes, carved out spaces, and things like that. I don't know how many videos I have on Sage Wall at this point, but there's a lot. Even Will's here. Where'd you go, Will? All right, there he is. Will did a great video on Sage Wall as well. And it's in America. And ultimately, I think a site like Sage Wall, the practice of, getting into it and discovering and doing all this work is of value, even if the place isn't a megalithic site. we're practicing and running through the processes, which is going to give us information about all sorts of stuff, whether we determine that that's a man-made wall or not. But it's a fascinating site. It's easily accessible, and you can do it here in the States. It's up in Montana. Totally worth going to see. And none of this was pre-planned. I had no idea that it would be these particular parts of my travels that allowed me to keep doing this work. Timing is almost everything in life, but pursuing truth and individual passions are probably the most important part of what we all do. I truly believe that we were all created to contribute something unique to the world as individuals. I just know that by joining together in these places, our passions intersect and will only help us more. We can't always explain how or why things in our lives happen the way that they do, but I believe that by exploring and sticking to those things that truly ignite our passion, we'll be set on the right path for incredible things to happen and incredible success. So these are all sites also, just want to point out real quick that I've documented, and they'll kind of have some relevance here in a second. But I do want to point out, if I got this going, bottom right, there's a site that I filmed in China. And this is another example of what I'll be getting into in a minute of reconstruction at sites. They've planted trees all over this pyramid, and there's multiple pyramids in China, tons. And they're planting pyramids. And so they're doing this to sites all over China. They're planting pyramids to cover up the pyramids, carving out ancient sites like they're doing, like I showed you there at Longview Caves. China's just kind of like a overrepresentation of some of the stuff that's happening at archaeological sites around the world as far as reconstruction and changing the nature of the site. For me, more than anything, this work has created a fundamental shift and change in who I am as a person. These experiences, seeing these places in person, and building valuable relationships with people has expanded my understanding of the world in which I move in. And I think we're all collectively looking for truth in the various topics of interest within the ancient history community. But pursuing our own inner truth is something else that allows for positive change in how we seek that out, and leave space open to explore all kinds of ideas we might not otherwise have considered. So what I'm talking about specifically is tapping into that innate passion that is within each of us for something. The things that we spend our free time on because we enjoy it, and we will do in our lives regardless of whether we're making money from it or not. We'll do it like it's our actual job. I've seen that passion in so many of the people here today, and it inspires me more and more every day. You don't have to be here now, but you chose to come to this conference because you care about these topics and believe it's important. There's a place for everyone to contribute in some form, and figuring that out individually, and then contributing to the community in some ways, how we grow together and spur on support for new discoveries. So this site is, top left is the Band of Holes, which I recently proposed a theory on. I'll be putting out a video on that in the coming future. And I visited this site with Will again. Will's going to get a lot of shots out. I've traveled with Will all over the place. So we went out there, was it like 2 or 3 years ago, I think? Incredible site out in the middle of nowhere off the coast of Peru. So there's so many ways to get involved, but for me it was traveling. I came from a troubled background, and distrust in people was something built into me from an early age. The thing that surprised me most was that as I traveled, I started interacting with the world in new ways, having new experiences outside my comfort zones and collaborating with others on projects. And I found out that people are generally the same everywhere. We all want the same basic things out of life: to earn a living, have a home, be safe, care for our family and loved ones, and to be happy. If you can remove yourself from bad environments and surround yourself with the right people, the relationships in your life can be the greatest asset possible. Investing in that pays more than any amount of money can provide. So this path and traveling really changed my life and helped me feel like I had found my purpose, something I was passionate about and couldn't imagine not doing for the rest of my life. I'd finally found something that felt real I could pursue fully, the quest for ancient civilizations and building a community focused on that goal. The biggest questions, the questions that probably brought all of us together at this conference in this community, are all the similarities between sites around the world in ways that stretch across time, distance, and cultures to include myths and legends as well. And I'll be honest, had I not been on the ground exploring these places myself, I probably wouldn't have noticed these similarities in the ways in which I have. It's a feeling you get the more you explore these sites that they share some type of history with each other. So what are some of the key similarities we see within these sites? Firstly, it's the human element, shared mythologies, globalized knowledge, similar belief systems. Then there's the physical similarities. Scoops, symbols, construction, nubs, keyholes, all sorts of stuff. I may have eventually learned about these similarities thanks to people like Graham Hancock and even others here speaking today and tomorrow. But I was seeing these places in real life that allowed the truth to finally click. It was like God handed me my purpose and showed me how similar we are, all of us. Those of us alive today and all our ancestors throughout human history. But then something happened that almost broke me.
And the feel that I get walking these sites is almost every major site, if not all of them, have been inherited by the cultures that we currently attribute them to. Peru, in my opinion, is comparable, if not surpassing, places like Egypt. I'm watching people reconstruct sites and take old ancient blocks and cut them with stone saws to make them fit into the wall that they're recreating for that site. The history that we know of here in the Americas, specifically North America, isn't what we've been told. Now, all of the rock and everything that's been excavated from those caves, they've never found. And we're talking about tens of thousands of tons of excavated rock that's never been accounted for. If there was ever a place for the argument for geopolymer, in my opinion, Sacsayhuaman is a great example to explore that idea. I think that the cart ruts are tied into quarrying stone and that they served a purpose for movement. The archaeologists dismissed it because they knew that they had drastically rearranged the exterior of the structure of Chichen Itza.
So before I get into the next clip, I just want to preface that this was about a year ago. This was my aha moment, so I'm going to play this for you.
Does that make sense? So they filled it up with piles of rock.
It makes sense until I just saw this picture. So this picture is showing, on the original picture that we looked at, the one that I said looked like a watercolor picture, there's no top like there is on this picture. So there's nothing, okay, so that's up there. When you look at this picture up here, you've clearly got the top of the pyramid. And maybe, are we saying that top is, okay, so that's the same top on the left as it is on the top right?
You have the top there, but clearly like the bottom right one being the most modern, that's today.
Yeah.
Right? Or in our time.
Yeah. But so the question is, could you just peel off all that dirt and stuff and get what's on the bottom right? Or do you peel off all that dirt and stuff and you just get just a pile of rubble?
So if you peeled off everything from the bottom right picture, you'd get what's on the left. It's been reconstructed, the tops of it and around it, but the most extensive amount of damage has been done to the exterior of the pyramid, going down. Mm-hmm. So that's, even in that picture there, on the left, those stone steps, that's recreated. So that's not excavated. They built that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And then they built, you can see if you go back down to that picture, you can see, do you see any snakeheads there? Because I don't.
I don't see any snakeheads there.
And I don't see any railing going up alongside those steps.
Unless it's even
all
further,
recreated.
Unless it's even further under the mud or whatever, like.
Which they are still digging and finding. But here's a good rule of thumb.
So these people on the left with these scaffolding are essentially they're putting in those stones. They're adding those stones on top
Yes.
of the pyramid. That's crazy.
Yeah, and we don't even, most people assume that they're, like I was saying before, like most people assume that some team of specialists and experts and archaeologists are sitting there sorting through every stone and trying to find and place them right back into their proper position. That's not what's going on.
Right.
That's not at all what's going on in the reconstruction of these sites.
That's depressing.
I'll tell you, so when you're traveling through Mexico, what you want to look for is, first of all, look for mortar, because they'll use mortar in different stuff. And look for little dots. So in between the stones and the bricks, when they put these little dots in into the seams, it shows that it's been reconstructed. It's a signifying mark that they leave to show the reconstruction portions versus the original. And so when you go through Mexico and different places in Central America, you'll find that something to look for. And I wish I had a shot to show you, but if there's any kind of close-up shots you can find at Teotihuacan or probably even Chichen Itza, you'll find those dot patterns. And that's an area that's been reconstructed. And so the areas that are not reconstructed or that are original don't have that dot patterning between the stones and brick and stuff. But yeah, it is depressing. And then you have things like what's happening at Longview Caves and different places where they're actively, purposely, and intentionally changing the site.
Yeah, it's sick what they're doing to the walls inside of there. I mean, just
100%.
yeah. So, okay, yeah. Where else do we see that? I mean, what are some of the other big sites that you'd look at today? That's
I mean, Stonehenge is an original. It's not, Stonehenge is in its original shape. It's not like we found Stonehenge that way. I don't think most people know that. But Stonehenge was reconstructed. We don't know that it was in that shape and stacked the way it was.
when was it restacked?
I think sometime around the turn of the century or 1900s, maybe. I mean, there's photographic evidence.
Just blocks lying around.
Yeah,
Wow.
and them using and lifting them with cranes.
Really?
Yeah,
Huh. Yeah, I didn't realize that.
yeah, and placing them like that. So there's a bigger picture to all of this stuff around the world. So it's not, there you go.
This is the most depressing episode that I've ever.
It was, but that was the moment for me. I'd been seeing these sites all over the world for, at that time, I don't know, 7 years, 6 years, something like that. And it really kind of clicked. I was walking by all this and not really noticing until Matt really pressed me on it. And I had to think there. You can kind of see I'm putting it together in my head during that interview. And I'm going to show you guys exactly, because since I've kind of had this moment as I've traveled, I've paid more attention to what's going on. And it is insane what's going on at some of these sites now that I'm looking and paying attention. So I'm going to show you that here in a minute. And just to make a note, my friend Hugh's here pointed out to me that Stonehenge has been reconstructed very accurately, which is another great example of why community is so important for checks and balances. So I may get it wrong too. But this was a real aha moment for me, obviously. I've been seeing all of this in my travels for years, but this was the first time it really clicked for me that something may be wrong and worth giving a bit more thought to. I left Matt's interview, and this idea of reconstruction at sites really stayed with me. In fact, it started bothering me quite a bit. As I began to replay all the things I'd seen over the years, pieces started coming together like a pattern. Once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it. I started questioning everything as the level of changes at some of these sites appeared to be massive. It was like once I said it out loud, I couldn't ignore it, and I couldn't unsee it. Until that point, I'd always seen the walkways, the roofs, reconstruction and things like that at these ancient sites is something that made me go, that's just the way it is, I guess. And not fully arriving at what the implications of this reconstruction for modern tourism might be. As I pieced together all my experience, I saw a pattern that existed everywhere. Cutting stones with modern stone saws, drilling holes into pieces to place rebar, the massive amounts of concrete used to recreate sites, and the switching out of original pieces or full-on recreations for replicas without any signs to notify the casual tourists of what they were really seeing. And I just want to point out, this is the Sphinx here, and they're fully encasing the Sphinx in modern stone. So the Sphinx that I saw just a week ago is not going to be the same Sphinx that someone sees in 10 years, 20 years. It's going to be fully encased in modern stone. They're cutting limestone blocks. That's what the scaffolding is there, and encasing the entire bottom. Not only that, but the outside of the wall of the area there, this is an area that's been analyzed by Robert Schock as weathering, pushing back the date of the site potentially. They're walling that in right now. That entire area. Who knows by when, but they're going to wall that whole area in. You won't be able to look at any of that anymore. So how much of what I was exploring isn't from the time these things were built? How much of humans changed these sites over the course of history, misleading all of us in our understanding? How many changes were new from the last 50 to 100 years? And how many came from even before then, added to by the ancients who engaged in our own version of archaeology? Reconstructing sites isn't something that's new. This has been going on for thousands of years. But what we're seeing today is a bit different. There's a motive behind it. These places that saved my life, were they really what I was seeing, or had they been manipulated for me to fall in love with them? So the thing I had found that had given me so much joy, a sense of purpose and happiness, was all a lie? And I really had to ask myself that question. But more than that, I had to go see for myself with new eyes. And it just so happened I already had a scouting trip planned for an upcoming tour to probably the most noteworthy site on the planet at the moment for looking into this, Göbekli Tepe. So Turkey was a whole thing. I was going with Nikiana Jones and her husband Joaquin, and then Jimmy Corsetti joined us. And Jimmy had been bringing attention to the olive trees on site that had been planted there years ago over the ruins and putting pressure on the heads of the site to remove the trees. Now, we just happened to get there the very day they finally decided to remove the trees. It was blind luck, but great to be able to film this in real time as it was happening. This was important and necessary. But while the tree should have been the main focus for me, I couldn't get past the steel columns from the roofing system that were piercing directly into the heart of the site. Understanding the type of project this would be to install with cranes, digging with heavy equipment, the amount of workers needed in the site, and all the concrete and more that was probably used to secure these in place, it really had me worried. So, I worked in construction before, and you can't just put a pole in like that. These are massive steel beams that would need to be supported by a crane that you would drive over a site that we were just bitching about trees being on, right? And then if you look down here on the left where the poles go all the way around the site, they're in the site. So how many workers were down here guiding these steep steel poles in from a crane that was lowering it down? And how many jackhammers were used to go through the bedrock, to dig holes that probably had to go down 20 feet to anchor this in, to be able to support a massive roofing system that's in the dozens of tons? Not to mention the walkway. After having spent quite a bit of time now at this point thinking back on all the work I'd seen at sites around the world, analyzing all my footage and understanding reconstruction processes at these sites involving construction crews and day laborers, this didn't seem good, especially if what I was noticing was a pattern everywhere. The next site we visited, Karahan Tepe, provided more evidence of what had me concerned, as the roofing system at this site was in the beginning phase of being installed, with dozens of massive holes dug out directly into the site as well. And you can go watch all this in my videos. I got full videos out on all this. I was becoming a bit depressed about things at this point. A veil had fully lifted and I'd seen behind the curtain. I felt I now had to reevaluate in my mind the countless numbers of sites I had visited all around the world. It really stole the joy from me for a bit. When I got home, I got straight to work. I compiled everything I could find from my travels that would help to understand this all better and have a clear picture.
It's always interesting to see how they mess with the sites. So they're taking stones that they found in the area, and they're actually, I'm sitting here watching them do it, they're actually cutting those stones up, stones that they found, so that they will fit with other stones and they can put them in place. Either that or they are making entirely new pieces, sometimes using plaster. They do that all over the world, and they'll rebuild the site to what they estimated it to be. Something to know when you're visiting ancient sites, they're usually never, especially if they look complete, they're usually never in the original state that they were found.
None of the world-famous sites we are all familiar with are entirely original. In fact, some aren't even close.
That's how they do it at almost every major site in the world.
I hesitate to even guess how many tons of concrete have been used to recreate Teotihuacan. How many ancient blocks have been cut in Cambodia to force into a wall? Or what stones are in their original places at Baalbek and where they truly used to be. You see, the real focus is no longer on research. No, it's on reconstruction. Day laborers are hired to piece together these sites using modern materials like concrete and steel to patch up ancient walls. The average person would never guess the reality behind what you're seeing. Teotihuacan, Machu Picchu, Baalbek, Stonehenge, Angkor Wat, Chichen Itza, Chaco Canyon, and so many sites in Egypt, all reconstructed with concrete, plaster, steel beams, and rebar, hiding the truth of the site and adding to it for the sake of money through tourism.
So all over the site, like these areas right here, these are concrete bags, and it looks like what they're doing is they're just shoving concrete bags into places in these walls. If you look behind me here, and that's bracing the walls. And there was a spot that towards the entrance where it looked like they'd been placed much longer ago. And I guess what's happening over time is these bags just kind of break down, turn into these solid pieces of rock looking things, just become part of these walls. So here's a really good point where it's really hard to differentiate between clearly what they're doing is stacking concrete bags and basically building the walls back up from where they've identified where the walls are. And these are older, so it's a lot harder to tell right here. So you can imagine as it gets older and older that it's going to be harder and harder to tell what's what. It's just kind of unfortunate. I don't know how I feel about that. You know, you can see the flakiness of it here. And if I bring you guys around over here to the other side of the wall, you can see clearly how they're concrete bags. It's hard to tell. Like this looks original, this, but then these are not, and they're fitted in between with stuff from the site. It makes it really hard to tell until you get to points like at the end there with the larger piece of stone.
This is amazing to be here and experience this and get to see everything. It does suck to see how developed the site is in terms of for tourism and how it's not developed in a way that it's like around it. It's developed in a way that it's like in the site. The large pillars and stuff, the poles here that provide all the roof cover and everything like that. I mean, they go directly into the site and plug into the ground in the site. The only reason for that is for tourism and so that we can be right here when we're experiencing this. The hillside goes up further. You could still see this from a distance without putting the walkway directly into the site.
The pursuit of money through tourism now trumps any pursuit of truth through archaeological work, and those who work in the field seem to get mighty upset when you point this out. Why? Shouldn't they be the ones speaking out the loudest against all of this?
If they find like this, and then they'll cut them up and then put them back into the walls.
that looks like they try to match it up as closely as possible, but a lot of it isn't matched up at all. And that's how most places in the world that you visit are reconstructed. They take these giant stones that they can't move, then they cut them with modern equipment, they label them and mark them, and then they put them back where they think they went, and the best approximation of how they fit together originally. And that's how you get reconstructed ancient sites. Also, a lot of times they'll use concrete and mortar and different things too. There's little markings and stuff that they do a lot of times at different sites that show and indicate where things have been remade and reconstructed. Little jagged dash marks and things and mortar and different stuff, so you keep an eye for that. You'll notice it, but this would be like an area here where they would take all these stones, clean them up, maybe even sand them down. If they're too big, they'll cut them, and then they try to place everything back where they think it went. And that's how you'll get these, modern reconstructed ancient sites. They didn't find them that way. Most of them are all found like this, completely collapsed.
The most famous sites in the world have effectively become amusement parks. What purpose does planting trees on pyramids in China have? Shoving bags of concrete into walls in Lebanon? Encasing the Sphinx in modern stone? Best we can hope for these days seems to be that most places never reach peak levels of interest or stay far outside easy means of visitation. Take the Great Sphinx, for example. The Sphinx I've seen is not the one generations before me have seen, and it's not the one people will see in the future. It's being encased in modern stone, wrapped in a mask of artificial preservation. But why? Doing this says there is nothing else to gain from this incredible piece of our past, and that its main value to us now is to generate money. The average person will visit and never know the difference and be amazed. I've seen people get overwhelmed with emotion, crying in front of what they think are great works from our past, while I know it's a full recreation made of concrete. All this simply to elicit this emotional effect on the paying masses. The same story.
Bummer. And once you see it, you can't unsee it, right? So I'm going to wrap this up, but I want to wrap it up with a little bit of hope, because it's not all bad, right? So let me skip ahead here. Bear with me. So, I really had to accept the reality of how a lot of sites are handled everywhere, and that at the same time, if not most places, the priority has definitely become money. At most places, the priority has definitely become money, and archaeological work has ceased. But I also had to remind myself that these places were still here. They weren't being erased, even if sometimes they were being encased in concrete or bricked up with limestone blocks. The more I thought about it, the more I also realized just how important each and every one of us now is, each of us individually and together as a group. Every picture we take, every video we shoot, every conversation, every shared image or social media post is now a running record of these sites that may look completely different in years to come from what they look like now. So it's even more important than ever to be building this community, relationships, groups, support, and more. And the tours, they really saved me. Seeing my friends explore these sites like I once did for the first time made me realize that the more we all get to see these places in real life, the more we feel that same passion to protect them at all costs. I never thought it would happen, but working with others has helped re-spark my passion like nothing else. All of you in this room, watching at home, you've helped inspire me into everything I'm doing today. Perhaps I experienced after realizing just how manipulated these sites are. It wasn't a lull in my work. Maybe I was being granted a reprieve that would let me build up my energy for something much, much bigger. It certainly feels that way today. For every faceless financial group hiring day laborers to rebuild ancient sites with modern materials, there are real people doing excellent work to move things forward with new ideas, research, documenting sites, discovering new ones, and those who are creating the space for us to be able to get together like this and share our passion for our history together. That's why the real takeaway from my talk today should be how it's more important than ever to find somewhere we each fit in and contribute, support, and help in whatever ways we can. Because it's not understating things to say that our history is under attack. From big corporations, outdated institutions, and rigid modes of thinking. We're a team, and we need to always act like it because these forces are working against everything we're trying to achieve, and they have a lot more money and time than us. Together, we can also influence things enough to encourage a level of accountability to how these sites are being handled that exists outside the sphere of those who profit by money or career with their involvement. Everyone here knows that the mainstream media doesn't exist anymore. Their views pale in comparison to other major platforms on YouTube and other places. Along with making our own content, sharing it on the new mainstream is just important. So I encourage all of you to make the effort to travel and talk whenever you can get the opportunity to do so. And again, if you can travel, take the leap and go. You'll never regret it. Book the flight, get the hotel, get your visa, go have the experience. Join a tour, any tour, make friends, be a part of the community, because you never know what will spark your passion like Sacsayhuaman sparked mine. So, don't lose hope in seeing stuff like that. These places are still amazing, and they still hold so much value for each and every one of us to us individually in our own lives, but as a community. But it's important that we're all coming together a bit more, I think, as we're moving forward to share, to document, because some of these places are not going to be around, not in the way that they are now in the future. And we can make a real change in that. So anyways, thank you guys so much. And I hope I didn't bum you out too bad.
No, I'm glad he's playing my stuff. He's played the Sage Wall multiple times, Long U Caves, and that's good. I think it got a lot of attention to Sage Wall, which is great because that helped that research that I was talking about in the on stage there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And thanks for depressing us all with the sites.
Yeah.
I don't know. Karnak was still impressive, but you could see everywhere where they filled in the pillars.
Yeah, my saddest thing about sharing all this is that once you see it, you can't unsee it. Yeah, and it changes the way you view sites as you're like visiting them, which is a little depressing. And so that was this year for me, was kind of working through that and then finding that passion again, you know. So
well, it makes, you know, in a way, it can, when you do find something, especially when it's off the beaten path.
Yeah.
And you understand that they did in Göbekli Tepe. I forgot the town outside of it, but there's a town that knew they had. Hugh talked about this. That knew they had something underground.
Oh yeah.
And they just kept it secret forever.
Cyber.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they knew they would be
Cyber.
relocated by the government.
Yeah. Well, and there's houses all over it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when you find something new like that, it makes it even more kind of special to get out to the new places that haven't been.
Well, like in Peru.
Yeah.
So that Baalbek stone, is there any follow-up on that?
I haven't gone back. I'd love to go back out there. That thing is amazing. They're calling it Megalitos de Capuli, and there's other sites up there that have been documented that nobody's looking at. And but yeah, that one I'd like to get back. That was a journey to get to.
Yeah, it's hard to get to.
Yeah.
And that's good.
Yeah,
that
it's very good. Yeah.
Like only people like you are crazy enough to go out there.
Yeah. It was quite a trip. Yeah, up
How long
and over
did it
a
take?
mountain. Well, you got to get up to Terapoto, if I'm saying that right, and then from there, you're going to need a guide. I had to have somebody take me out there, and then we had to hike through the jungle and over a mountain. So It was pretty hard. Yeah.
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 Not going to take a tour to that.
No tours. Yeah. No. Yeah. But yeah, I think Peru is just now. I think Peru is, and I think I even said it in the video. Peru has so much more to reveal, and I don't know if you're familiar with Raul from Pillars of the Past.
I am.
But he's down there right now, just doing.
Frontier. Raul's awesome.
Yeah. Raul's down there making new discoveries constantly, which is amazing. He's just out there like hiking over mountain ranges. Yeah. Finding new stuff. So it's still happening. All this, we're still in an age of discovery, which is really cool. I mean, the Amazon has barely been explored, so.
No, those are the new frontiers.
New frontiers.
The new frontiers. Yeah, Raul's going to be a star. Dude.
Yeah, Raul, he's the man. Yeah.
He's nuts. When he can't get his GPS location, he's just driving to farms and asking directions. Like, is it over there?
Yeah.
I think I'll go by myself. Like, super safe to
Just
go
on his
hiking
own.
by yourself in the middle of the desert.
Coming upon like whole piles of bones and stuff in places, and he's
those
out
are
there
all the
doing
people
it.
who came before him who were looking for stuff. That's what it was.
Yeah,
You
looted.
gotta be careful.
Yeah.
So what's next for you, man?
I'm gonna take it easy. I'm crank out videos for the next 6 months, and then we're going to Japan. Yeah. So Japan's gonna be so sick. So we're doing the megalithic tour of Japan, and I think there's like 4 spots left, so people can still join that. There's only like 4. Yeah. But no, I'm gonna take a little break. Been going really hard for about 5-6 months, and just crank out videos and get a lot of this content I'm sitting on out, and then hit to Japan. And I think my buddy Will and I have a side quest to Indonesia. We're gonna go to Sulawesi. Yeah.
Sulawesi with those where the statues with like
The penis heads.
the penis heads, for lack of a better. I say they have like the owl face.
Yeah,
you
sure.
could
and
say
that's
penis
an owl
head.
head.
That's
an owl
cool.
head. And they're. I think they're holding. They're
holding their junk.
Yeah, like like other stuff around the world, so they're comparable.
Yeah. David Hatcher Childress talked about. He thinks it's Shiva.
Yeah.
But the similarities you see in the face, you can see that in the Urfaman in Turkey.
Yeah.
And it does have its arms kind of in the same position, which even Randall's talked about. That might have something to do with be fruitful and multiply.
Yeah.
It's all fertility. But the statues in Sulawesi look like Easter Island, which
just another example of
T-pillars that go back to Tepe all have those arms.
Exactly. Coming around.
Coming around, and either sometimes there's junk there and sometimes there
there's
isn't.
junk there. Yeah, carrying on tepes, there's junk
broken
there.
off though.
Yeah.
You never know.
That's true. Yeah.
Delicate stuff.
Yeah. But another example of how there's so much stuff that's just like tied together through symbolism, construction, and all this different stuff around the world, which is just another piece of the puzzle. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the primer. When you get new people into this, when they try to well, what's this ancient civilization stuff? And it's like, you can't just go like, okay, there's an elevator pitch for this.
Yeah.
It's really hard. So I try to make it like, well, there is similarities around the world where you see keystone cuts or those kind of statues when we shouldn't have been able to contact each other according to academia. That's like the quickest way to get them into it. And they still go, sure, weird, but
Yeah, we could build things like pyramids and stuff. But we couldn't have a boat that crossed the ocean.
No, of course not.
Communicated.
It's ridiculous.
Transatlantic trade or whatever. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
A boat.
Inconceivable.
Pyramid. Yeah.
As they say. But I'll let you go. We're going to talk to the chat.
Cool. Sounds good. Thanks.
The chat's working today.
All right. Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, brother.
Later. Have fun. Hi, Garrett.
Hey, Gary, I shot it out to the chat. So in between these presentations is the time to ask questions in the chat here in the live and make comments. Tell us what you think. So please do so throughout the day. We're going to be doing this all day. So
all day.
Let us know what you think. So far, what do you think?
Of the conference?
Of the conference so far.
So far, it's been good.
Yeah. This last one was a little depressing. But
yeah, Mike brought the whole mood down, to be honest with you. I was like William Henry yesterday and David Hatcher Childress,
yes.
freaking legend. Then Mike
Always.
comes in and just goes, it's all fake, be depressed.
But it's truth.
Yeah.
Which is really
we're here
important.
for truth.
Yeah. So hopefully bringing more light to that and speaking on that will make a lot of people aware of the situation and maybe these reconstructions will be more thoughtful and not just thrown up for money.
Yeah. Well, and what Michael said, we would love to believe that there's some authority out there making sure the truth gets out there, making sure every I is dotted, T is crossed, every stone fits perfectly.
Right.
That's really naive.
Yes.
It's really,
yeah.
When we went to Egypt at Karnak, there is basically, it's like somebody called it the ancient Egyptian Home Depot. So what they have is everything they've dug up in rows. And then the people in the chat who have been there, they'll know what I'm talking about. There's just row after row after row, and it's countless rows. And it's long. It's like hundreds of yards down of just pieces of rock.
Puzzle pieces they haven't found a place for yet.
Yeah. We good now? We're good now.
All right.
Somebody way more important. So here we go.
Graham Hancock up next.
Coming up next.